Ice has reached Chicago, and I'm not talking about wintertime. Everybody knows it's cold out there, but no, ice, the ice, DSHS ice has reached into Chicago, and there have been some issues. In fact, some pretty big issues. What has happened was some ICE agents were ran off the road. Now, we're going to talk about both sides of this. Just be prepared. We're not going to take just one angle on this because it's never just one angle. We have a situation now where ICE agents were apparently run off the road. There's footage of that. And apparently they called the the Chicago PD to find out if they can come and help them. Now, what is inferred is that the Chicago PD said, nah, we ain't coming out there. We are not sending any help. We're waiving off the request of sending anybody else. And the call came in. They said they were trapped in 39th place in Kenzie, I think was the name of the streets. And there's a recording of the dispatch.
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999, Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Saying exactly that we are not sending out troops to that particular area. The police are not coming out. Don't worry about it. That's not happening. Now, the problem comes in as to the why. One side is saying they're not sending out the police because they don't care what happens to ICE. The other side is saying they shouldn't send out the police because no one cares what happens to ICE. Either way, I think the one person that's not benefiting from this, well, is ICE. ICE are the only people that's kind of standing out on their own. Partially because they're in a location where they were, let's be honest, they were told, don't come to. We ain't trying to help you. You're not going to get anything done here. We don't want your presence, whether that be for crime or for immigration. It's not going to work here. The other question remains this. Did the Chicago PD have a legitimate reason for not helping? Now, I know y'all going to say, what do you mean they have to help? That's part of their procedure. I get it. But hear me out. If they're entering into a situation where they don't know where the ends are going to actually happen, what's the situation, who started what? Because remember, while we have the benefit of hindsight, they did not. They were simply operating off of a phone call. Video had not surfaced yet of the incident that happened. So they're functioning off of a phone call coming in by an agent saying this is happening. They don't know that that's happening. And the liability of something happening if they did show up is also a valid reason. I'm not saying it is a reason. I'm just saying it's a valid reason. So don't get it twisted. I'm just covering, both sides here. And the other side of it is this. ICE is there to try to help the location, Chicago, out with its problems with illegal immigrants. Now, illegal migrants. And the problem here is if they are really trying to do this and the Chicago PD is impeding that, then I can possibly see y'all saying they are impeding and actually hurting people in Chicago because these particular illegals are harming local citizens of Chicago. Now, how do you get to the middle ground here of what is to take place? Communication. That's where you get to the bottom line here. It's a communication. If ICE had done a better job, listen to me now, of communicating what, where, and how they were coming into Chicago, maybe things might have been different, especially if they had made some sort of a treatise with the Chicago PD. Don't know if that happened. We have not heard any statements from the Chicago PD that they were willing to or unwilling to work with ICE agents on a contracted basis. But if that didn't take place, then you can kind of see how Chicago PD might be saying, you stepped in it on your own. You got to step out of it on your own. However, if there was some sort of a treatise made between the two that said if they're coming in to do A, B, C, and D, and they are requiring the assistance of Chicago PD, and they reneged on that, then we might be hearing about that here soon enough, but it may not be true. And then we're still stuck in a dilemma. And where's the dilemma? The dilemma is we don't know. We don't know whether or not the treatise was made or not made, if the reasons for not coming was legitimate or not legitimate. But we do know we have recording of them saying they're not coming. We do have video footage of the incident happening. And we also have the hindsight of remembering that people from Chicago had been making videos saying, don't come to Chicago because we're going to do stuff to you.
This is what it takes! They are turning around!
Now, if we're going to talk about the one person that's in the middle of it, it would be ICE agents. Are they doing their job? Yep. Their job is to detain and remove illegals from communities. That's their job. Find them, detain, remove. If, however, the people that you're going to, the region you're going to, the city you're going to, the town you're going to, is in confrontation with your methods and plans, you could run into some pretty hot water, including not just the people you're trying to detain and arrest, but the local citizens. And in this case, apparently even up to and not limited to the police department. Now, we've seen a few people have their own take on this, and most of it is polarized. One's either going to talk about it from the side of the police and having the police's back for a change in not responding, or they'll have ICE's back in the fact that police did not respond and they're doing something illegal. That's not the case. I mean, it's not illegal for them, especially if the information that's given out is insufficient to the responding type. We have a lot of stuff we do not understand, do not know, they have not divulged. We can make some assumptions about things, but we have to do it fairly. There are going to be those that are going to be absolutely polarized with this. But here's the main question. Should ICE have had help? If we're going to look at this from a moral basis, let's say for a long time that there have been an issue with illegal immigrants coming to certain regions and taking over and being given more benefits than the locals, then you should be the ones to welcome ICE to remove that so the resources of the city can go back to the residents. If, however, you're on the other side where you think to yourself, nah, we need to include everybody, and any agent coming to remove somebody that has become a part of the community needs to be removed. How do you solve that problem? The question is, you can't. You really can't solve it, because if the powers that be are in cahoots with either side, you're not going to get a resolve to everyone's liking. It's going to get polarized. It doesn't mean we can't look at both sides to see whether or not it has merit, because one will more than likely trump the other. You're never going to be stuck in a stalemate for forever. But in this situation, we're running into quite a dilemma, because if there was some sort of an injury and no police responded, then there might not ever be a police report to get anybody held liable for any damage that might have been done to anybody's body, including ICE agents. But also remember, again, we're going to be going back and forth. It almost feels like Willy Wonka. But also remember this. There has been calls to harm ICE agents because of what they're doing. So how do you square this particular circle? And the unfortunate answer is you have to leave the square square and leave the circle a circle. You can't change the two. You're not going to change it. There are going to be some people that are going to welcome people from foreign countries that did not come here the legal way, and you're going to have people that are against it. And ICE and the police are going to be caught in the middle in how they operate and maneuver around how you fix this issue. At the end of the day, the real people behind how this is fixed aren't the ones going into the city to fix it. That being government officials on the political side, whether that be with a D or an R, they're all far away from the situation in their little lofty houses, dealing with what they have to deal with without actually putting boots on the ground. So they don't have really a dog in the fight outside of election time. So the real people that are at harm are the citizens, the migrants, ICE, and the police. Everybody else that has to deal with it on a political level, they're not going to get touched by this. Which is why watching at this both sides will actually help us to figure this out. Do we need more illegals in certain areas where they're being given better treatment than the citizens? The answer to that should be obvious to everybody. No. Should we turn them all away just because? I'm not saying that. But you can't expect the citizens of a country to just accept somebody because, and they get treated much better, I mean exponentially better, than the people who have been here contributing to and being a part of a system while watching it spit in their face. You can't expect people to not get mad at that. I would think that any reasonable person would look at that and say, you know what, I can see why they would be upset. I can also look at the other side and say, I can see why you're upset that we're trying to remove people who they consider humans, just regular people looking for a life. I can understand it. There's nuance to everything. I get that. And there is a point of view for everyone. I get that too. But it doesn't negate the fact that this attack that happened on video, which you can see, okay, unwarranted. They were just driving and they came up behind, pushed the car off the road, all that stuff. That was unwarranted. As for whether or not the police should respond to it because it was a regular traffic altercation, that one has some inner workings that we are not privy to, including and up to paperwork that was signed between ICE and the Chicago PD. The other side of it will always be one that will be fluctuating between right, wrong, indifferent, or, one side versus the other. What we can be assured about is this. There was a stand-on order given. There was a no response order given. There was indeed an altercation between somebody and ICE did indeed call for help, and they did not get it. We know that much for a fact. And with the rest of it as to the why, we do not know. Everyone's allowed to contribute whatever ideology they want as to the why and to how this is going to come out. But until we know more about the reasonings, who issued the main order, how the order was gone about by issuing, and for what purposes, we're kind of stuck in the dark. We can say this. I surely hope that no one was harmed in any of the incidents that happened. That's more likely not going to be verified for a while, but I can hope so. Because at the end of the day, we want this to transition in a peaceful way. You can't say that you want violence to happen, at least, well, maybe you do. I don't know. Again, both sides. Maybe you want this to happen violently, but let's look at this logically. How would violence help the situation? You can have one or two decisions to be made. Either the government stands down and says, leave Chicago to their own devices and then see what happens there. Or the government does what by law they're supposed to do, which is protect the citizens of the United States and step in and do what they got to do without the help of NYPD or Chicago PD. I don't know why I keep calling them NYPD. It's easier because it's been on TV all the time. Without the help of Chicago PD and do what they got to do. Now, of course, if things go south, you decided not to call Chicago PD for help. So there is that dilemma. However, we should probably expect or hope that the local law enforcement would enforce, the law. How's this going to go? Don't know. How's it going to end? Is there going to be an investigation? Don't know that either. Will we ever find out if there was ever a treatise made between them? We won't find that out either. I highly doubt that. Or maybe if there was, that'd be the only time we found out. If there wasn't, we're going to see more narratives come forward. All we know is this. When looking at situations like this, we have to take a very, very, very logical approach. And by logic, I mean looking at both angles, not just one. That would be a very, very myopic view. And no one wants to have a myopic view of any topic because you can't get to the bottom of it. You want to be able to look at things robustly. Both sides have their own valid responses to it, and they're valid because they consider it valid. Now, the law has something that's a little more strict. And if you're looking at it from a law perspective, then we still need to know both sides. If you're looking at it from a social aspect, you still have to know both sides, which is why we're putting our 2 cents in. Now, whatever your thoughts are on the situation, we would love to hear it. If you have a completely different take, it might be even a polarized take. We're willing to hear those too, because like we say, in order to get to the bottom, we got to hear everything. So we look forward to hearing your comments on this one.
I stab stereotypes, the map, the math, you call it conflict, I call it context, 2 lenses, 1 text, next 2 flex, they clip a clip, 2 quick fix the narrative, I stitch the stitch back to the narrative comparative, when your feed feeds a frenzy, rewind, find the friendly faces in the frenzy that they fenced away, street light testimony, shadow speaks different in bright light than in night fights, watch the white light bite, I got verbs that twist verbs, siren that reverse sirens, hear the siren say, listen, my lines are lifelines, throw one, save none, save